Hi guys, today I'll be starting with the new session that is socket programming for the Windows for server as well as client communication with C programming. So guys, I have divided this session into small lectures. It is very much interesting and convenient for your purpose as it will be very short lecture and it will be covering the interview perspective points actually. So guys, this lecture, I will be explaining you the overview of the socket, what is socket, where the socket is used, for the socket creation, what all things are required, how to do programming using the socket for server as well as client communication, and we will be seeing in detail the whole server program, the client program, and we'll be running, understanding the instructions line by line and running in the code block and seeing the output. So guys, this particular session I have divided in this manner, small lectures, where in this particular lecture I will be explaining you the overview of the socket, what is socket, what all things are necessary, and what all socket types are there, and what all Windows APIs we will be using for server and client. So in the next lecture, as I told you, I'll be covering actually the Windows APIs actually for the server as well as for the client. Actually, we'll see what all code is used actually for all these window APIs line by line, and then we will be seeing the program itself actually and running in code blocks. So let's see what is the overview of it actually, of the socket. What is socket? Also guys, this session is very much important actually, and it is very much required in this IT industry because there occurs a communication between the server process, client process, between different host machines, wherein messages are sent as well as received actually, and there are many applications which uses this socket programming. So it is very much basic things which you should know. So this lecture I'm covering because when we will understand the socket program for server and client, actually if your concepts are clear through this lecture guys, you'll be understanding actually the whole program itself. Guys, it's very much easy program, so don't worry, I'll make you understand line by line guys. So guys, what is socket actually? So socket actually, first of all, it takes place between the two processes and it is an endpoint connection between the two processes. So I have also made a note down for you for your convenient purpose, so you can refer it in the future guys. So socket programming is what? It is a two process communication with each other through client server communication, and so therefore the picture comes for the socket actually, where an endpoint connection between the two processes takes place guys. So guys, these two processes, that is client process and server process, they will have their own sockets. So we will see what all things are required actually for creating the socket. First of all guys, for socket creation actually two things you should know actually. First of all, the address domain and the socket type. So we will see in detail what all these things are there. So guys, there is also important point in this guys. So since we want to do a socket communication between server process and client's process, so you should know two things actually. First of all guys, this is an important point. So what things are there? So if you want two processes to communicate with each other through socket, they should have the same address domain and same socket type actually. Then only the communication between client process and server process occurs actually. So we will see what is this address domain and socket type. So I hope guys you understood what is socket. It means a communication between client process, server process, and endpoint communication between them. And for creating the sockets, these two things are necessary: address domain and socket type. We will see what it is. And for communication between client and server through the socket, actually they should have same address domain and same socket type. So first we will see what is this address domain and socket type. So guys, coming into the address domain, there are two types of address domain. One is the Unix domain and second is the internet domain. So what is Unix domain guys? So when the two processes can communicate with each other when they are sharing the common file system, that is the reason it is called as a Unix domain. They are sharing the common file systems actually, and the address of this socket is represented by the character string here guys. So this is all about the Unix domain actually. For the internet domain actually, whenever the two processes, when they run on different host machines. So guys, suppose you are having one host machine actually, and your one process is running there, your another process is running in another machine. So if they both communicate to each other actually through the internet, then that domain is called as an internet domain guys. Also note point for you guys, you might be knowing that each host machine actually is having an address actually to communicate over the internet. So this is called as an IP address. So this will be represented as 32 bits. So guys, as in we have seen that in case of the Unix domain, the address of socket is represented by character string, whereas in case of internet domain, the address of socket is represented by internet address, and that will be of 32 bits actually, guys. So guys, this is all about actually the Unix domain and internet domain that comes into the address domain. So guys, also remember actually, as I told you, the communication between client process and server process occurs only if they are having the same address domain and socket type. So if the two processes, client and server, if they are having the socket of the Unix domain itself, then only they can communicate. If they are having, if both the process have the socket actually of internet domain type, then they will communicate. But if one is having Unix domain, another is having internet domain, they won't communicate. So always remember, they should have the same domain, either Unix domain or internet domain. So guys, let's see actually what is the socket type. So guys, two types of sockets are available actually, the stream socket and the datagram socket. What is stream socket, guys? So guys, stream socket actually, wherein the continuous communication will be taking place, that too the stream of characters will be passed from server to client, that too continuous communication will take place. That is called as a stream socket. What is datagram socket? Here the whole message will be sent at once, and that is the reason they are called as datagram socket. So we will see in detail about it. So guys, these socket types, stream socket and datagram socket, they uses the communication protocol. So the stream socket, it uses the communication protocol, that is TCP, whereas the datagram socket, it uses the communication protocol UDP. So guys, we will see what is this communication protocol TCP and UDP. So UDP is used by whom, guys? It is used by this datagram socket. We will see what it is. UDP is represented by user datagram protocol, guys. So three things comes into it. These three features are present. First is send and receive the message up to 8 KB. So guys, here the whole message that is of the quantity will be 8 KB. This will be passed from the server to client, or it will be passed to client to server. Actually, the whole message will be passed at once actually in case of this. So second point about it, it is unreliable. Message may be lost or reordered. Why they are called as unreliable? Because guys, what happens whenever there is a communication between client to server or server to client? Suppose there is communication between client to server. So there are some messages sent from client to server. So if some network issues occur, so therefore as a result, there is a loss of message actually from client to server. So in this case, server won't be notified that there is a loss of message from client to server communication. That is the reason it is called as unreliable. So either from client to server, server to client, if they are not notified, actually the loss of message occurs. That is the reason it is called as unreliable. So the third feature of this UDP is connectionless. There is no connection between the server and client. So these all points are available actually. So guys, depending upon the requirement, you can choose which type of the socket you need to create. If you want to create the datagram socket, you understand it uses this type of protocol, so all things will be available, guys. If you uses this type of if you uses a stream socket, it will use TCP. So we will see what is this TCP, that is transmission control protocol. So guys, in transmission control protocol, here the message will be sent continuously. That is, stream of characters will be sent actually one by one. Stream of characters will be sent actually. Continuous communication will take place. So it can be like a pipe itself. Another thing is, guys, all the bytes delivered are correct and delivered in order. So it's sequentially communication of stream of characters will take place. Actually, it will be delivered properly and in order itself. Third thing is mass transient packet loss, and the fourth one is connection setup maintenance. So here, guys, as we have seen in case of the UDP, whenever there is a loss of message, it won't be notified actually either server side or client side. But in case of TCP, actually, whenever there is a message loss, the client will be notified or the server will be notified actually. So that is the reason it is a reliable communication. So we have made the note point for it. Other end is notified if one end closes or resets the connection, or if the connection breaks. So whenever there is a connection break or some connection close, then it will be notified. So this is about the communication protocol which all these socket use. So we have understood actually what is the address domain in socket cell. So guys, as I told you, the communication between client process and server process can occur only if they are having the same address domain and same socket type actually. So this we have covered what is address domain, what is socket type, and what are the communication protocol. So guys, the last point in this particular lecture is I have made a list actually what all server Windows socket APIs are there, what all clients socket APIs are there. So guys, in the next lecture actually I will be covering actually with the code itself, how to initialize, I will explain what is the purpose of initialize WSA, what is the purpose of creating the socket, and what all code is required. I'll write down the code for you, and then what is binding the socket, what all code is required to bind the socket from the server, and then I will explain the concept for listen on the socket and what all code is required. So all things I'll cover in the next lecture, guys. For your convenient purpose, I have divided in this manner. So this particular lecture, it concentrates what is socket, what all things are required for the socket creation, and what all socket types are there, and what all these Windows APIs are there. So for the server side, these APIs are there. That is, and you have to initialize WSA. We will see in detail what is how to initialize WSA, what it is in the next lecture. How to create a socket, how to bind the socket, how to listen, how to accept, how to send and receive, and how to disconnect for the server side. And we will also see how to initialize WC in the client side, same thing. How to create a socket, then the connecting to the server, send and receive data, and disconnect. So I'll cover in the next lecture, guys. So guys, please subscribe this session actually, so to get more updates actually, wherein I will be covering the lecture, covering all the APIs details, explanation with the code itself, guys. Line by line I'll explain you, and then another lecture I'll be covering for the whole server program, client program, which will explain line by line instructions. We will execute on the code block and we will see the output. So these things, guys, I will cover actually in the lecture 2, where I'll cover all required server client Windows socket APIs with detailed discussion syncing with code, and in another lecture I'll be covering server. In the second lecture I'll be covering this. In the third lecture I'll be covering the server client Windows socket communication detail code with execution in code block, and in the last lecture I'll be covering areas where socket server client is used, guys. So guys, please subscribe to this session actually, so that you will get an updates for all these lectures. It is very much important interview perspective, and it's very much must in today's IT industry, because socket communication is used everywhere, guys, for the communication between server and client, guys. So I'm done for now, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot.